And we are now on map number 2 of our best of 7, spawning in the north position as the Red Terran player from Team Millennium. It is Dayshi up 1-0. And he is up against this gentleman in the south, the blue Protoss player from Team Root Gaming. It is Minigun. So, now we have a map that I think most people would say is pretty good for Blink Stalker styles. And as much as I want to encourage all of you, of course, to believe that, because it is typically true in the Korean metagame, Minigun is simply not a player that likes to do that. Minigun is not a player that commonly goes for Blink. When I was discussing the prospects of this show match with him, he told me, he's like, I'm not really a Blinker. For some reason, I just don't get free wins versus Terran when I play Blink. And that's totally fine. Minigun does prefer more macro-based styles. I think he's even said, he's like, the people that blink against you on ladder are probably better at it than me. I'm just not really that comfortable with doing this stuff. And Dayshi is apparently listening to some Swedish house mafia. I can't argue with that. Hashtag Widow Mines. Those Widow Mines were quite strong in the first game, if you guys are just tuning in. And this was Minigun asking Widow Mines, will they save or destroy the world? And Dayshi says save. I think he's quite happy with how those Widow Mines worked out. They did a really good job of pushing the forces back and dealing quite well with that attack. So I thought it was cool to see. It felt a bit strong, but let's see how Dayshi plays this out, because he's not opted to go Raper on this map either. He's just opened 12 barracks, 15 gas, which would allow for a pretty quick mine drop behind an expansion. And that's a pretty strong build, especially considering that the patch with the Widow Mine not only means that he can do more damage for Zealots, but also has a higher chance to one-shot probes. You could probably kill a couple more probes than usual with a mine drop. You still have to be within like the dead epicenter, I think. Maybe when it's half the splash damage, it still kills it because it's now half shield damage as well. But we'll have to see. Dayshi's trying to just dance around the natural, see if Minigun's expanded yet. He has not. He's opening up with the Zealot, though. And he might cancel it if he thinks he can get away with it to build the Nexus. He lets it finish, just in case. He's a little bit nervous, it seems. So that will delay the Nexus a slight bit, but it also means Dayshi can't do anything like Engineering Ray block him, as he's going to try to build a bunker, but the Zealot is here, so he shouldn't have, he's just going to have to cancel this immediately. This is one of the reasons why you want to open up with a Zealot and then only cancel it if you think your opponent isn't going to try to block you. Because, I mean, imagine if you cancel Zealot and he just starts a bunker, and all of a sudden you have to chase the SCV around with your probe. It's really annoying. We have to wait for the Mothership Core. And here comes Minigun trying to be aggressive. So Minigun is trying to bring a little bit of early pressure to Dayshi. Dayshi's just now started the bunker, and that Mothership Core, the change that's been made to it in the test patch is it has a little bit less vision range. As you guys can see, the Mothership Core, it feels really, really low, but it's about the same vision range as this Zealot. It can see about as much. So doesn't have the ability to see quite too far into the base of his Terran opponent. He has to move a lot further in to scout, which leaves him vulnerable to the marine attacks. But it also means Dayshi has a little bit of time to get that bunker complete. And he's going to go for a starport, but Minigun's still able to get a scout off. This map is not so small that the Marines can block him. Even with less vision range, I think it's important to note the Mothership Core is still able to get in, still able to see what Dayshi is up to. Maybe if he hid his tech in the northwest corner, the Mothership Core would probably have a lot more difficulty spotting what he's up to. But I guess there are some Terran players that would build it up here, so it might make scouting a bit harder with the Mothership Core. Just trying to keep my eyes open, of course, for the impacts that these patch changes might have. So Dayshi scans the main base of Minigun, and he sees the Stargate finishing up. Minigun opened the last game with the Stargate, and he picked off a couple of SCVs, a couple of Marines in the first game with his Oracle play. But he might have to keep the Oracle at home on this map. I mean, Photon Overcharge is still on the table, but if Dayshi pushes the front and burns the first Photon Overcharge, then suddenly he runs into the issue of, well, what if he drops in my main next? You know, the Widowmine can actually, even if it's just Marines versus Stalkers and Zealots, if the Widowmine hits one of these units and splashes the others, that extra 40 damage could be a game winner for Dayshi in theory. And I guess that's the theory we're trying to test out here as this Widowmine comes forward. The Marines, Photon Overcharge immediately procced, and he just steps off. Now, the Mothership Core takes a little bit of damage. It has to be further out. It's important to note that if you want to defend against attacks, if you want to see the attacks coming from your opponent, the Mothership Core needs to be further out, so that to be a little bit more at risk to spot these units coming in. So here comes the Mine Drop, and he's barely... Oh, Minigun doesn't see it. This is another difficulty with the Mothership Core. You know, normally its vision would end right around here, and he would be able to see this attack a little bit sooner. So Dayshi does get inside of the main base thanks to that Mothership Core side nerf. But there's two Widowmines camping the ramp. Gets one Stalker with one. The Oracle being used for detection makes things hard as well. And he backs up. Ooh, picks up the Widowmine. Good Graviton Beam, but the Zealot is dead. And these Marines for Dayshi are doing quite a bit. You can really see the, you know, it's kind of like Zerg versus Terran or Terran versus Terran, where you have to watch out for the drops in the very early stages of the game. I'd say more so Terran versus Terran. The early drops, if they get inside your base, it can really kill you. And I think this clearly shows that it's definitely going to require a little bit more base awareness to hold off potential aggression if the Mothership Core sight range is actually reduced that much. But Minigun's adding on 4 more gateways, plus 1 armor is on the way. Nothing else really in production. He's just trying to defend. He did take some significant losses. 11 probes were killed during that drop. And I actually feel like, you know, it seems that, I don't know, I guess it just feels like the Protoss player has to have buildings all over their main. Dayshi only has maybe one open spot where he doesn't see everything. He has like his supply depots spread out a little bit. But I feel like it would be beneficial for Minigun to have enough pylons to spot all the areas in his main. He can see most of the left side of the map, maybe one dark spot, but this lip being open is a little bit difficult. I don't necessarily know the weight or the opportunity cost of putting a pylon here as opposed to somewhere else just to make sure you can spot the drops. But one of these probes actually still not mining gas inside of the main base. And, well, Minigun, he's sending out his Phoenix he built. Try to scout, see where Dayshi's army is. And Dayshi's just started stim. So Dayshi's very, very far behind on tech. But he's done enough economic damage to buy himself a lead either way. He has a few more SCVs. He has a handful more army supply. He has the Marines. He's bringing some Widow Mines forward as well as a Viking. But there's still not enough energy for Photon Overcharge. Minigun has had to use his energy at every opportunity to defend against the attacks. And he's keeping the mine just out of range of the cannon so that if Minigun decides to engage, these Widow Mines are going to get a crazy amount of splash on that Protoss force. And he sends the Viking to the natural. He's trying to poke the Mothership Core, but there are 2 Phoenix. So it's a weird little dance. This is not the standard Terran versus Protoss dance that you would normally see. Typically, I mean, you can't really have this kind of aggression this early on without Stim Pack, and I think it's mostly because Dayshi was able to get that earlier damage done. There is a Templar here looking for a feedback. Might be able to get one. Does. Not on the weak medevac, though, so misses out on the opportunity for a kill, but of course limits the healing power of the Terran force. Ghost Academy is on the way back at home, plus 1/1 for Dayshi. And meanwhile, Chad Jones, plus 2 armor, 75% complete. He's keeping his Marines moved around. And I like this. He actually burrows a Widowmine at the 3rd base. He's going to send a Marine over to the outside, keeps a Widowmine outside the natural. And Minigun, using his Oracle Double Phoenix combination to pick this mine up and disable it. Widowmine grabs a Stalker on the right side. Then you can see normally the Widowmine might take off 40 shields of the Stalker. Now it's removed all the shields from the Stalker, and it's made this army a lot weaker. Just because not only do you pick off the random units, but the Zealots can't engage. You can't charge forward. It's almost like, actually, I don't think Minigun even, he does have charge, but he doesn't have blink this time around. I was going to say, it'd be really funny if he didn't get charged just so that he could avoid running into the Widow Mines on accident. But Dayshi's now blowing down these rocks to open up a path towards his own base. Dayshi's 3rd is planted and landed. And this is a much, much later 3rd for Minigun compared to the last game. So I'm actually kind of scared for Minigun now, just looking at the difference compared to the first map. Only because in the first map, Minigun didn't take any early damage. We're actually seeing some nice use of Revelation. And, oh, the Mothership Core is here. Drops a Time Warp. The Templar, is he going to get the money? Storms, he does get one. The Widow Mines are all going to burrow, though. They haven't been picked up by the Storms. A lot of Zealots taking damage. And he barely kills those mines in time. He actually manages to neutralize them. Only taking a little bit of damage on his Zealots after getting that Storm, but he's running. There's still Widow Mines behind his army. The Oracle can see them. He's trying to get the hits off, and they're actually nice hits on those Zealots. That will be enough to push the Protoss army back. Meanwhile, more Zealots being warped in at home. He's actually still making a handful of Phoenix, getting +3 armor. And Dayshi scanning. What is he looking for? He checks the third base. He wants to make sure that this isn't some type of 2-base all-in from the Protoss player. And behind this, a 2-2 is beginning for the Terran player. He's still continuing to produce Widow Mines. And I think we're already seeing that this is something that Terran players would definitely make use of if the patch went through. It's neat to see this little mix-up, but I still feel like it's giving Chad Jones a really hard time. Oracle does slip into the third base, grabs a few SCV kills, actually picks off the SCV, building an additional barracks, both additional barracks, and gets into the main. He's just dancing around, takes a shot at a Widow Mine as well. And there's still good harassing tools for Minigun, but he has to be careful because obviously a Widow Mine one-shots an Oracle if he leaves it behind in lieu of a sensor tower, and he could take a lot of damage. Minigun's going to go for a big attack. There's a lot of Templar here, and at the same time, Dayshi is going for an attack. Does he see this force? Actually, Minigun's going to be the one retreating. He wants to defend his third base. Oh, no, Dayshi. I was going to say, if he got those Widow Mines to cut off the retreat path, that would be quite painful. And the mines have not burrowed yet. The Zealots are trying to charge for it. He wants to get the money storms off, but there you see the Widow Mines just chewing away at that Protoss force. Gets a couple of Zealots into the third at the same time. Minigun, good counter-harass capabilities. He's actually forcing Dayshi to bring his whole army back because the threat of additional warp-ins is too high. And that allows Minigun to safely secure his third base. He's doing pretty well as far as his economy goes. He seemed to mostly recover from the earlier damage that he took, but he's still behind in army supply. And this is I guess about as good as it could get for Dayshi. There's no Colossi on the map. There's no threat of them. The second robotics facility is on the way, as well as the robotics bay. But he doesn't need to make Vikings yet. Oh, these Widow Mines running a little bit far forward. Might get picked off. The Phoenix could try to pick those up. Ghost gets an EMP on the Templar. There's still some storms, though. Oh, Templar on the high ground. Nice storm by Minigun. He clips a lot of hit points, but there's a ton of medevacs. This is the problem when you don't get the fast. When you don't get Colossi, there's no Vikings, and when there's no Vikings, a Terran player can move up to 11 medevacs without any difficulty, like he did in this game. Splits off a few bio units to pick off this High Templar. He's trying to keep the mines at the bottom of this ramp in case the Zealots charge in. Another storm. Oh, the second storm from that high ground. So that was the sixth storm. The first one was like okay, it was like a mild influenza, but this one that was full Ebola there. Lots of damage done, lots of Marines picked off, and these Widow Mines still treachery forward. The Zealots are just not an answer to this. Zealot-based charge lots are not the way to deal with the Widow Mine composition, it seems. I really feel like if Colossi would fare so much better against this. There are the storms, though, but Dayshi's just splitting his army under the cover of these medevacs, and the Widow Mines are disabling all of these Zealots. Archons as well will also take the bonus damage from the shields. And as everything continues to burrow, I think Minigun is pretty much toast here. Everything has been destroyed. Third base cleaned up, and Dayshi takes game number 2 here at the Kappa Star League Balance Test show match.